Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue straight on with part 5 of Rime of the Ancient Mariner. When we left off on part 4, last time we read, the mariner had actually done something which ended the terrible arc of him going up, up, up in his punishment, and he did something, and now he's kind of plateaued, and now he's at the top of his punishment, and if he continues, maybe he'll start going down, right? And he won't have to deal with dead men and be stuck on this ship with no water, no food, no sleep, nothing. They haven't even let him sleep. Remember, when he closes his eyes, his eyeballs pulse. So for 7 straight days, he's been forced to stay awake and look at these things that he finds evil. Now, I will say the one thing that he did do, which is going to cause him to stop where, going up in this awful punishment and penance form, maybe plateau and maybe start going down, was he blessed the water creatures in the moonlight. And the minute he did that, you'll recall the albatross drops off his neck and sinks like lead into the sea. So this is the beginning of things starting to look a little better for this mariner. So I will ask you all this. You're teenagers. Do you agree with me that one of the coolest and best things we do in life is sleep? Do you look forward to sleep as much as I do? I love to get really tired at night, crawl into bed and just fall right asleep. There's nothing like it. Also, sleeping late, forget about it. I mean, on a good Saturday morning, sleep longer than you normally would. It's a wonderful thing. It makes you feel good to think about, and it makes you feel good to actually do. And if you don't know this, and you probably do, sleep is the thing that heals us more than anything else in the world. Sleep heals you. Any doctor will tell you that. If you get very sick, the first thing they're going to tell you to do is go home and get lots and lots of sleep. If you have surgery or something is wrong with you, your doctors tell you, please get lots of sleep, build up your strength, because sleep is probably one of the best things you can do for your health and for your sanity. Now, our mariner for 7 days and 7 nights has been unable to sleep, right? Also unable to drink, unable to eat. And he's been forced to stare at all these, well, not stare at, but he's been forced to be stared at by the 200 dead men with the evil eye. So the first thing that happened for him that was good, that stopped all the madness that was happening, was he was able to pray again. And that was after he blesses them unaware. The second thing, the albatross sinks lead from the sea. Here goes our third thing. In the beginning of part 5, something nice is going to happen to him. Listen, sleep. It is a gentle thing, beloved from pole to pole. That means people from the North Pole to the South Pole, everybody loves sleep. To Mary Queen, the praise be given. She sent the gentle sleep from heaven that slid into my soul. So he's telling us now, well, he's telling the wedding guest, but outside the church, Mary gave me the ability to sleep at this point. So I was able to blessedly fall into a sleep, regain some strength, and get away from all the madness of the people and the creatures out there. Although I don't think the creatures bother him anymore, because he now sees them as beautiful and God's creatures, but the 200 dead men still staring at him absolutely do. Okay, by the grace of the Holy Mother, the ancient mariner is refreshed with rain. So first thing she gives him, Mary, is sleep. Second thing that Mary gives him, Jesus' mother, rain. The silly buckets on the deck that had so long remained, I dreamt that they were filled with dew. And when I woke, it rained. My lips were wet, my throat was cold, my garments all were dank. Sure, I had drunken in my dreams, and still my body drank. I moved, and I could not feel my limbs. I was so light. Almost I thought that I had died in my sleep, and I was a blessed ghost. He hears sounds and sees strange sights and commotions in the sky and the element. So, and soon I heard a roaring wind. It did come anear, but with its sound, it shook the sails that were so thin and sere. So he hears a wind. He doesn't see. Watch. Well, let me just say it. He hears a wind. I'm going to say he hears a crazy wind, and it's coming, and he sees his sails start to move. So all of a sudden he realizes, with this wind, what's now going to happen? Remember, he's stuck on the equator and has been for over a week now. Now that there's wind, it's going to move him back north, back towards home. And who's sending that wind? We're getting the idea again. It's Mary. She's showing him some, I don't know if it's love or some support, some kindness, some help. Why? Because he prayed for those creatures. So he has Mary on his side right now. Listen. And soon I heard a roaring wind. It did not come near, but with its sound it shook the sails that were so thin and sere. The upper air burst into life, and 100 fire flags sheen. To and fro they were hurried about, and to and fro, and in and out the wan stars danced between. And the coming wind did roar more loud, and the sails did sigh like sedge, and the rain poured down from one black cloud. The moon was at its edge. Have you ever seen those cartoons where a rain cloud follows just one person and rains on them, and they walk around all sad, and wherever they go, it's always raining on them, and everywhere outside of them, it's sunny and blue? That's kind of what's happening right now. There's a cloud, a rain cloud, that is over just the ship. Nowhere else. And it's raining on the ship, and it's also providing it with wind. So what's happening here is Mary's being really nice to this guy. Mary's giving him the rain. She's also giving him the wind so that the ship can now move. But we've got a problem. His is a monster big, I wouldn't say it's a pirate ship, but it's a big buccaneer type, galley type thing. Maybe 2 or 3 masts. Can that ship move with just wind, or what does it also need? The answer is it needs men or women. It needs crewmen, crew people, to work the ropes and turn the wheel and do the rigging and pick up the anchor and all that. That's why there's 200 men on his ship. Now, not all 200 men work at once. They probably do it Navy style. So like 70, and 70. So 70 work for 8 hours, and then they go and they sleep for 8 hours. And then the next 70 comes in and works for 8 hours. And then they go and sleep. And then the other time, the other people just eat and chill and get their rest. So they do 8-hour shifts. So you got to have 60, 70, 80 guys working the ropes and the rigging at all time. But they're all dead. So if the ship starts moving, how's it going to work, right? He needs sailors. Listen. The thick cloud was cleft, and still the moon was at its side. Like water shot from some high crag, the lightning fell with never a jag, a river steep and wide. The bodies of the ship's crew are inspired, and the ship moves on. Listen, the loud wind never reached the ship, yet now the ship moved on. Beneath the lightning and the moon, the dead men gave a groan. So he says he hears the wind out there, but he doesn't feel it. But all of a sudden, the ship starts to move. So it's definitely a supernatural wind. This is a wind provided by Mary, we believe. But all of a sudden, the dead men start to groan. They start getting up. Listen. They groaned, they stirred, they all uprose, nor spake nor moved their eyes. It had been strange, even in a dream, to have seen those dead men rise. The helmsman steered, the ship moved on, yet never a breeze blew. The mariners all again worked the ropes where they were wont to do. They raised their limbs like lifeless tools. We were a ghastly crew. So all 200 mariners get up and start doing their job. Do you think they're still giving him the evil eye? I think they might. Listen. The body of my brother's son stood by me, knee to knee. Time out. The body of my brother's son. So his nephew is one of these sailors. And his dead nephew gets up and starts working the wheels. The body of my brother's son stood by me, knee to knee. The body and I pulled at one rope, but he said naught to me, and they start working together. But not by the souls of the men nor the demons of earth or middle air, but a blessed troop of angelic spirits sent down by the invocation of the guardian saint. See, Coleridge had to put that little italics in there to let people know exactly what's happening, because people were like, wait a minute, who the heck is running those bodies? Because I know for a fact that those guys are dead and their souls are gone. It's not the guys doing it anymore. It's not their souls. How do I know that? Where did their souls go? Remember, they fled to bliss or woe. So their souls are either in heaven or hell. They're out of here. So who's controlling these bodies? We just found out a troop of angels sent by the guardian spirit. So did Mary send the angels? Did the South Pole Spirit send the angels? Somebody sent angels down into the bodies of these men so that they could work the ropes and this guy could sail on. Listen. I fear the ancient mariner. Be calm, thou wedding guest. And once again, the wedding guest interrupts the story. He's like, dude, are you kidding me? These dead men moved and were filled with angels, and I'm supposed to be okay hanging out with you? And he goes, calm down, wedding guest, chill. 'Twas not those souls that fled in pain, which to their corpses came again, but a troop of spirits blessed. He says, don't worry. That wasn't the souls didn't come back. They weren't evil guys, evil dead men, zombies or anything like that. That's me. I'm the zombie. He says, no, it was angels that came down into their bodies. And how do I know? Listen, for when it dawned, they dropped their arms and clustered around the mast. Sweet sounds rose slowly through their mouths and from their bodies passed. Now, many of you have probably seen this. This is the example I like to give. The cartoon version of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. And if you'll recall at the end, all the Who's line up in a circle and they hold hands and they sing to the denuded Christmas tree. It's been robbed of everything. It's just a blank Christmas tree. There's no ornaments or tinsel or anything on it. And they sing and they swear, Yahoo Forest, Yahoo Forest. Remember that? That's what I see happening right now, because it says at dawn, they all 200 men clustered around and they held each other's hands and they started to sing an angelic symphony came out of their mouths. Listen, when at dawn, they dropped their arms and clustered around the mast. Sweet sounds rose through their mouths and from their bodies passed. Around and around flew each sweet sound, then darted to the sun. Slowly, the sounds came back again, now mixed, now one by one. And then he says these beautiful angelic symphonies came out of their mouths. They started singing this wonderful song. And then he's going to say these wonderful sounds of nature started coming out of them as well, or mixed in. What are some wonderful sounds of nature, guys? People who say, oh, that's just a lovely sound, right? We're going to hear birds singing. We're going to hear the babbling brooks and rivers rushing. We might even hear some waves crashing. Something that's not natural, but people do it, is we're going to hear some instruments playing. So not only are they going to sing out of their mouths this beautiful angelic symphony, but it's going to be mixed in with these natural, wonderful sounds. And it's one way for the mariner and for us to know that these are good angels. These are not evil devil demons or anything like that. No, these are there to help him. Listen. Around and around flew each sweet sound, then darted to the sun. Slowly the sounds came back again, now mixed, now one by one. Sometimes a dropping from the sky, I heard the skylarks sing. Sometimes all the little birds that are, how they seemed to fill the sea and air with their sweet jargoning. And now 'twas like all instruments, now like a lonely flute. And now it is an angel's song that makes the heavens be mute. It ceased. Yet still the sails made on, a pleasant noise till noon, a noise like of a hidden brook in the leafy month of June, that to the sleeping woods all night singeth a quiet tune. Till noon we quietly sailed on, yet never a breeze up did breathe. Slowly and smoothly went the ship, moved onward from beneath. So he believes still that it's the South Pole spirit or another spirit moving him from underneath. Listen. Oh, and it tells us right here, the lonesome spirit from the South Pole carries the ship as far as the line in obedience to the angelic troop, but still requires vengeance. Okay, so we found out the angels are forcing the South Pole spirit and Mary to move the ship to the line back up to the equator and past it up north. But and it says the South Pole spirit is doing it, but it still requires vengeance. In other words, it's like, okay, I'll bring your guy back up for you. Okay, he did pray for the things, but I'm not done with him. He killed my bird, and he has not suffered enough. Everybody cool? Let's continue. Under the keel 9 fathom deep, from the land of mist and snow, the spirit slid, and it was he that made the ship to go. So he says 9 fathoms underneath, the spirit was under there moving the ship. It's moving my ship, right? The sails at noon left off there too. I'll stop doing it, I'm sorry. And the ship stood still also. So at noon, the ship stops moving again. Listen, the sun right up above the mast had fixed her to the ocean. But in a minute, she again stirs with a short, uneasy motion. Backwards and forwards, half her length with a short, uneasy motion. This is hard to describe, so I'm just going to tell you the best way I can. The ship goes to the wherever it is at noon, it stops moving. It was slowly and nicely sailing, but it's not moving fast enough for the spirits. So it's going to now take the ship and it's going to move it in like a supernatural warp speed. Have you ever seen those like sci-fi movies or, Star Wars type movies where they go into like a warp speed and it's like very fast, all the lights are flashing by them and whatnot? That's kind of what's about to happen. In fact, they say the ship bucks back and forth before it just shoots off at supernatural speed. Now, if you'll know, or if you realize in some of those movies when they go into warp speed or hyper speed, they can't stay awake during that time because it's just moving so fast. So the inhabitants of the ship or the spaceship go into like hyper sleep, right? They go into like a little pod, they pass out, and then they wake up a year later and they're like a million miles away at like Mars or something like that. That's what's going to happen to our mariner. The minute that it starts moving so darn fast, like at supernatural speeds, he passes out. Please listen. The sun right above the mast had fixed her to the ocean, but in a minute she again stirs with a short, uneasy motion, backwards and forwards, half her length with a short, uneasy motion. So now the ship is like getting ready, it's bucking up to just blast off. Listen. Then, like a pawing horse let go, she made a sudden bound. It flung the blood into my head, and I fell down in a swound. So he says it moved so fast that I passed out. Listen. The polar spirits, fellow demons, the invisible inhabitants of the elements take part in his wrong, and two of them relate, one to the other, that penance long and heavy for the ancient mariner hath been accorded to the polar spirit who returneth southward. So while he's passed out, two spirits in the air, they start talking. And he can kind of hear them because they don't realize he's passed out, but he can kind of hear them. He hears their conversation, and they're like this. This is basically their conversation. What's going on down there? Why is that ship moving so fast? And the other one's like, that's the dude who shot the South Pole Spirit's bird. And they're like, whoa, they shouldn't have done that. No, he shouldn't have done that. And he's suffering for it. So it's like he's hearing the spirits in the air talk about his suffering. Listen, how long in that same fit I lay, I have not to declare. But before my living life returned, I heard, and in my soul discerned, two voices in the air. I just want to point out right there, he said, and in my soul discerned. So he has not lost his soul. He can't die, but he also hasn't lost his soul. He's not one of the souls. Let's continue. Is it he, quoth one? Is this the man? By him who died on cross, with his cruel bow, he laid full low the harmless albatross. So one of the spirits goes, is that the dude? Is that the guy who killed the bird who was there to help him? And the other one says, the spirit who bideth by himself in the land of mist and snow. He loved the bird that loved the man who shot him with his bow. And the other spirit goes, yep. That's the dude. And I'll tell you what, the spirit, the South Pole spirit who loved that bird, oh man, that spirit's still really mad. Listen. The other was a softer voice, as soft as honeydew. Quoth he, the man hath penance done, and penance more will do. So the mariner hears them talking. Here's one guy goes, is that the dude who shot the bird? And the other one goes, yep. And the South Pole spirit's still really pissed about him. And the other one says, well, he's had some penance, but he's got more to do. So he has had some suffering, but he's got a lot more coming his way. And that's the end of part 5. Part 6 and part 7, we will continue on with the penance and punishment of our ancient mariner for doing what he did wrong. Fabulous job, everybody. Thank you very much.